Hi. Okay, so I just had a healing. I want to get this information out before I forget it. My client, um, my client wants to help people in a way and be, I have more and more people that want to be psychic. They want, more and more people want to get more deeply in touch with and use their intuitive abilities. So that's why I tell everybody don't drink fluorinated water, and the pineal gland gets calcified. The pineal gland is connected, your third eye is connected to your pineal gland. And your brow chakra is your intuitive guidance. Now there's a lot of things that can block it. But in this client's case, she blocked a lot of intuitive and empathic abilities when she was young because she had a father who he told me he was an alcoholic. He just left it at that because we didn't need to go into it. Okay, so what we had to let her see, so her dad and I had let her see that she intentionally, as a child, shut down her intuitive abilities of empathy to feel people because of who her dad was, what he did, his behavior, and then he'd kind of leave this trail of just destruction in his wake. And then she was able to feel not just what he had done to these other people, and I don't think he was a killer, so but he also could feel her dad's guilt and shame and all this. Now the story, so he wanted to, so we got her out, we got out of her body all this, we were trying to get her to say, I hated my dad because I hated this and that, and it was nearly impossible for this person to acknowledge any kind of a hatred on her part. So we got through at least to, she had a sibling who hated this father, maybe still does. So we could at least let her see that she was, like, kind of in a way as a child forced to watch her sibling hate her father. So she had an experience with hate because of him, because of his behavior, because of his actions. And so that was uncomfortable because really we are, our cores, we're love, right? Now, so she intentionally, as a child, shut down a lot of her intuitive abilities. And I think this probably happened for a lot of people in their lives. So we made her talk a lot about that stuff. So he came through as a kind, smart, gentle person that quickly got a severe case of PTSD from a vision. And I'll just give you that vision right now. So his soul is that kind, gentle, loving, very smart. I can feel that. And then so it's as if, imagine as a firefighter wanting to help people, and then seeing, so I saw this, I witnessed this, and it's a little graphic, so I apologize now, but imagine seeing this, and it was a mother and a daughter, and they were burnt, they were alive, but they were in the fire, and they were together, and they were screaming as they were burning, and he was thinking, like, before this situation had happened, you think, of course, I'm going to run in there and I'm going to save them. But in this vision, and this may have happened, he thought to himself, maybe saving them is worse than letting them go now, because they're going to have to live, because he could see their skin, and he could see the pain, and so, things were slowing down, and he was trying to figure out what to do. Should I save them, and then they're going to have to deal with this, or is it more compassionate, loving thing to do to allow these two people to perish now because they may die soon, like seconds. And then, you know, not knowing, I don't know any religious background, if he's got any kind of a religious background. But, oh, the experience of seeing a mother and a daughter suffering to that level, and then it's on me to make a fast choice whether I save them, but am I creating a worse situation for them later? Okay, so he's got this PTSD, and he was supposed to choose quick, but he just never got over it. Whatever. So something happened. It was like that, and it might have been that. I don't know. It doesn't matter because we don't want to get trapped in this story. Okay, so there's many ways to give somebody PTSD quickly. There's many ways for someone to suffer so bad that they ruin the rest of their life because they suffered this time. So whatever happened to give this man PTSD, he never got over it, and he turned to alcohol and then more. And then the choices build on themselves, choice after choice after choice. And then my client was trying to forgive him, but it was too soon. It's like, no, keep going back to the negative. You can do all the forgiving when you're not with me, not in a healing. Let's get the negative out. So he wanted her to just let him go as a soul. So he's in spirit now. And one of her questions was, when we die and we go there, and so it was more like, no, let's think of it like this. We're all together. We're all part of the same human family. And some are in physical life and some are in spirit. The ones in spirit have a broader perspective, a bigger perspective. And then the ones in physical life, wearing the meat suits, when we came in, we like covered our eyes, so we don't get to see, we don't get to remember, and then there's people like me, I don't know why I get to do what I get to do, but so through my work and through sharing this stuff, I'm starting to understand why people think that so I got accused of being on a side, but pretending to not be on a side. And I triggered somebody, and then they triggered me because what I got back from them was because it was a thing about Hillary Clinton being guilty. And so they got out of it that I'm a conservative or I'm a Republican or both, and I'm lying, that I'm not on the political spectrums, and now it all makes sense, all this stuff, just all this, it was just, I triggered this thing I put up for somebody else entirely, triggered this person, and then this person kind of took it out on me. But it was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, because until someone finally accused me of being on a side, I was worried about being accused of being on a side. And so I always was afraid to talk, I would say, afraid to talk. And the truth was, it's just my ego mind telling me the story that no one's going to understand you anyway, and they're going to think this and they're going to think that. And then when I was accused of being on a side, and I've been accused of being on both sides, but it wasn't that big a deal. Like, it was like, wow. So it was very freeing moment to trigger someone into coming at me, and then but then I did get triggered at this idea that only Democrats can be good people, because I know and love a lot of conservative people, and they just are, if you don't listen to people, you don't know how they actually think. So that bothered me. It bothered me because that was, and I've moved past that because I did my own work on that, but that at that time was my problem. I felt that the problem that I saw is no one's listening to each other. And so this person saying, it didn't make sense you know, or like how it didn't make sense that I could be a good person and be a Republican. You know, it's just confusing to this person that that I'm a Republican and I'm a good person or do all this good stuff, and then how could it doesn't make sense? And it's like it doesn't make sense because you have it in your mind. You have this story that's taken hold, and it's not anyone's fault to have this story because it's totally programmed into people's minds that if you're a Democrat, you're a good person, and if you're a Republican, you're a bad person. And so I'm not holding it against this person. But the story in my mind was that's the problem, that people think that. And so everything stems from there. Of course, that's not true either. And but when you get hit with it in the face, when it like gets into your face, and you have to move through it, it's like a gift. So in my client's case, the story, all these stories about dad, stories about dad, stories about dad, stories about dad. And so she wanted to forgive. She's like, oh, okay, I forgive him. Well, it was like, he's like, no, too soon. The stories need to come out. We need to get all the stories about dad up on the table. How dad did all these things wrong. Put it all on the table. Okay, get it all, clean it out of the room. So you imagine that you have this room inside, and there's all this clutter in the room, all this crap in the room. And each one of those pieces of crap or clutter, there's a story about dad. And you don't just want to forgive dad, I forgive dad, but I'm going to leave all the clutter in the room. I want to clean the room. And then, because when you get new clutter from the outside, new information, if you don't clean the room that you're, you know, if you don't meditate and clear your room, then you get new information. And you take that information in, and then you compare it to each piece of clutter in your room. Okay? So, dad was bad. He hurt this person, this person, this person, this person. There's all these stories. And new information where, she asked me a question, I gave an answer, and let's just say, I don't want to get too personal because it doesn't really matter, but let's just say, do good people go to heaven, right? Let's say she asked me a question, do good people go to heaven? And then I answer that question, and then she takes the answer to the question, she brings it inside that room, which is full of clutter. She compares it. Did my dad go to heaven? Did my grandmother go to heaven? Did this person? Based on Carla's information. That's why the fifth agreement, be skeptical but learn to listen, is so powerful. You can ask Carla or anybody a question. You can listen to the answer, but do you want to bring it into the room? And here's the thing. And this is where people don't understand where I'm coming from. I've worked so hard to clean the clutter and crap out of my room that I can listen to somebody's story, no matter what it's about. You know, the Catholic Church and the Pope and all these, you know, things happening, all the trafficking and all that. Every 30 seconds, somebody's trafficked. I can take that story, that information. I take that information. Do I want to bring it in my room? No. But I can listen to it and say, okay, maybe. And I still gain the information. But I'm not going to bring it into my room because I worked too hard to clean out my room. So I'm not going to bring in these stories. I still know them, you know. Say, like the story of Hillary Clinton, you know, massive amounts of crimes against humanity. I listen to these stories from multiple sources. I can decide for myself if I think that she is guilty. But I don't need to take that into my room. I can just say, okay, well, this is what I hear. This is what I know that this person said. Because really, I haven't seen anything with my own eyes, but I can see through the other eyes. And I have access to that information, but I'm not going to bring it into my room, you know? So I could think that Hillary Clinton is guilty of the most heinous crimes against humanity. And I'm still not going to take that into my clean room because I'm not going to compare it to any of the clutter. There's no clutter. And so I don't want that in my room now, that clutter. So let's say I do. Let's say I think that she's totally guilty. that information can stay outside of myself, and then I can have an opinion about that, and then I can offer my perspective on what I think should happen if someone ever asks me. But I don't have a job where anyone would ever ask me. So to me, there's no point in having that kind of a conversation. So, but if someone were to ask me, and I could say, I think that everyone who is found guilty of all these things should be held accountable. And then I can offer my opinions based on what that accountability looks like. And let's say, the penalty would be, being hung for treason and all this stuff. And I could say, well, that's the current paradigm we live in, but do we want to do that? Because maybe, even though I fully agree that she's, guilty of all those crimes, and I understand that the current penalty would be hanging, but let's just talk for a second. Let's, maybe a better option would be to keep her, in a prison cell, and then allow people who feel that they've been hurt by her and her, what she's done, to come visit her prison and then tell them what they think of her. So let's say, for instance, let's say she's in prison and we all agree, because we can change the system anytime we want. Let's say we all agree, let's keep her in prison forever, and now let's let people who want to talk to her or whatever, and people could, there could be a whole bunch of people that want to go pray, sit around her and pray for her soul, or, anything like that. Or there could be people who put a lot of time. I know someone who put a lot of time and energy into Hillary Clinton and all of her campaigns and all that. Took time away from her own family and her own enjoyment, used money, probably put money in. That money could have gone to other things that, or maybe bought books that she wrote and all that. And so maybe her greatest supporters either want to go visit the prison cell and say, I forgive you, or I hate you because why did you do that? And you made me look so stupid to all my family, and I defended you and I fought for you, whatever, on and on, whatever. So whatever anybody wants to do, they can come visit, and then they can have their time. You can schedule for like an hour or whatever. And then Hillary could, from her prison cell, say, screw you, I never, whatever, however she wants to be. Or she could say, thank you so much, I'm so sorry, however it goes. I'm not trying to run the show, I'm just saying, there's a soul. Hillary Clinton has a soul, and then whoever wants to come visit her has a soul, and whether they want to forgive or apologize or fight and say hateful, horrible things, it's not up to me. But I'm just saying that we could all change the system if we all agree. We don't have to just hang people for treason who are found guilty of these horrible hate. We can say, well, we don't know what happens after somebody dies. Maybe it would be a better thing for the collective human soul vibration to keep someone that we would have hung or put to death in a place where, we could even make a reality TV show out of it. It would pay for itself, where you can watch somebody who would be hung for treason before. That's the way it's supposed to go. And now we don't hang them for treason anymore. We keep them in a cell, but we keep, you could have like Hillary TV, or, you can make them do things. I don't know. You can make money out of it. And it would pay for itself, so we don't have to have the cost of keeping these people alive forever. I don't know. I'm just saying, if we all come together and we all talk, but having these people, instead of just killing people, even though they've killed people or hurt people in horrible, horrible ways, keeping them alive and allowing people who either want to say, how could you do that? You hurt me. You did this and this and this. Or having people who want to come and say, I still believe in your innocence or whatever, and I love you, and I'm so sorry that you're going through that, and here's a couple cookies that I made or whatever. Or having people who want to just sit around and pray or do a vigil or something around the person to, pray for their soul, whatever anybody wants to do. The point is, this is way not what I was going to talk about. The point is, the more we can just say, maybe, the more we can just work on cleaning out our room, cleaning the clutter out of our room, whether it's people in there or stories about people in there or stories about I was a victim or, judgments on my dad was a bad person. So we cleaned out this room. And then he says, could you please let me go as my dad, and just allow me to be a soul who played the role of my dad. And then you can still call me dad as long as there's no attachment to that. And then she said, oh, like cut energy cords, which is a common energy healing thing, energy cords going out. And he said, no, it's not like that. He says, because I'm not in spiritual, I don't have a physical existence. So it's not like there's no way you can cord into me, but it is more like there's a hose to you and it's on, turn the spigot on, and the hose is now pouring energy into the abyss. So it's like I'm not on the other end of that energy cord. I'm just watching like a hose pour out into the abyss of energy for no reason. So it's not like he's attached to the other cord of energy. So that's between people who are alive. And I guess maybe sometimes dead, but not in this case anyway. And then he also said, don't tell your sibling or your mom that you forgave me. And then he said, your mom won't forgive you. And then she'll go to the grave not forgiving two people instead of one. And then when she gets it, when she passes, she's like, oh, I was supposed to learn forgiveness. So he said at this point, unless she's guided, unless my client's guided to shift that, to just allow so my client had to shift today, but allow the mental pattern that is now with the mother towards her dad and the sibling towards her dad. Allow those two to continue, because those people are not going to become healers like my client is going to be, like a much bigger vision, much bigger healer type person. And so her dad just wants to be like Prince was the artist formerly known as Prince. Her dad wants to be the soul formerly known as Dad. So you can still call me Dad, but just as long as there's no attachment to Dad, my dad, my dad. So I'm the soul formerly known as Dad. And forgiveness breaks the karma wheel. So when we forgive, forgiving, it is said, breaks the karmic wheel. So it provides a lightening. It provides, I'm going to do a video on forgiveness because I've experienced a lot of profound stuff through just forgiving. It's not condoning, it's forgiving. So anyway, if we take whoever's guilty of whatever crimes that they're really guilty, and even if the old paradigm, the old rules of the system, because we're all in this, so we all have this, whatever country you live in. You live in a country, there's a set of laws, and we all kind of, not all of us obviously, because some people break those laws. But for the most part, you got all these minds saying, okay, these are the rules in my country. where I live or in my town. And then we allow the system to stay in place. We allow it. But it only works because we're all allowing it at the same time. So we can change anything we want to. That's why Max Egan says, if we all woke up at the same time, if we all awakened, and he's talking about a higher level of consciousness, and whoa, like I'm an individual, and that's great, like the soul party, I call it the soul party. If everybody woke up, then we would fix the world in 3 seconds. So we buy into this system because it has served. So we have this government and this way of doing things and these society's rules. So, we started really with when people came over and they wanted freedom, and they started with freedom, and then they set up a government with so our country started with all these laws to try and take care of the people with limited government, and then they put in like the Second Amendment for guns. The Second Amendment right is to protect us from a tyrannical government. And they made it the second. So freedom of speech, you should have the freedom to say whatever you want to say, which is important to keeping a free and open society, and then be able to protect yourself. And the Second Amendment is against a tyrannical government because of what can happen if only the government has guns. So that's the Second Amendment. And people are allowed to fight about that using a first free speech, right? So that's okay. Works out great. But we all have this system, and over the course of the years, more and more laws come on the books. Now there are laws. There's a law, like if you're touching peat moss, you have to wear gloves or you can get arrested. So laws are created to protect people. And there's a seatbelt law, and there's a helmet law, in some states for motorcycles and all that. And it's to protect people. But every law that goes on the books now becomes another way to get thrown in prison, like marijuana. So there's how many people are in prison over marijuana? I don't smoke pot, so I'm not trying to push that, but I'm just saying. So if marijuana was as legal as alcohol, okay, how many people would be and then you released everybody from prison who's incarcerated for marijuana? How many people would be released from prison? If all those people were released from prison, how much money would it save, and all the work involved with taking care of somebody? When you put someone in prison, now you have to take care of them because you're not letting them take care of themselves. So it's, they're a burden to the state. They're a burden to everybody else because they're now in prison. So, and there's just so many, like case by case, do we really want, if we all were able to look at the background of every single person right now in prison, and we were all able to vote, like, do we let this person go or do we keep them in prison? I think people would be surprised at how often we would all agree. Or not for the most part, you'd have like a 90% majority vote on people with small things. So every law that goes on is now used to take people from freedom and put them in prison. So we have this system. Well, it's an old system. It's been working, but we can change it anytime we want. So even though, we have like tens of thousands, like 60,000 sealed indictments, let's say, it ends up with a bunch of arrests and a bunch of prison. We don't have to do what the old system told us to do if there's a better way. So let's see. So we used Hillary already. So let's say Hillary is in prison. maybe Hillary staying in prison and not hanging and allowing people to have conversations with her. Not like sit down interviews where you get lobster, but like people talking to her and saying, you know, I defended you, or, you know, you really did this, or you really did that, or, you know, people who she has hurt can come and say, I forgive you, and they can practice forgiveness. And when they practice forgiveness, it breaks their karmic wheel cycle. So by keeping someone that hurt you alive and then working at practicing that forgiveness could raise the vibration of everyone. And also, especially somebody like Hillary Clinton, so many people agree that she's guilty of all these things. And so if everything about her was exposed and brought into the light and allowed to come out, that might go very far. That may make huge strides in not bringing people together so much, but at least having one side understand the other side. So they don't have to become best friends, because like I said, you know, people are never going to stop fighting. If they're not going to stop fighting, they're not going to stop disagreeing. But I do see a world, I feel a paradigm shift coming where more people than not are reasonable and are going to want to shift into the new paradigm that I just said, there's a new paradigm being birthed, where there's a lot of people who really want to raise their vibration, and they're really disconnecting from spectrums all over the place, and they don't care about the color of their skin, and they don't care about political, you know, identity politics, and they don't care about sexual preference, and they don't care about their gender. They really just don't care. They just want to be peaceful. They just want to be happy. And so they're disconnecting from a lot of social media, and they're raising their vibration. They're meditating. They're reading. They're following these, you know, things like Mind Valley, and there's like people starting companies where it's all about relaxing. It's really all about enlightening and moving towards enlightenment. And I don't mean like Rosicrucian enlightenment. I don't mean like Luciferian or satanic enlightenment. I mean the legitimate enlightenment that started, you know, about the raising the vibration. So when I talk about enlightenment, I'm talking about the 700 level vibration. It doesn't have, when I talk about enlightenment, it has nothing to do with the Freemasons or Luciferianism or Satanism. It doesn't have anything to do with that form of enlightenment, because they kind of took over that word, the Rosicrucians and all that people. So I'm going to finish this up. This is a throwaway video, but maybe somebody will get something out of it. So we can all change the system. We all just have to agree. So let's say they audit the Fed, and then they shut it down. Let's say the Fed gets shut down tomorrow. So we still have the currency printed by the Fed, obviously. But if we all agree, if we all just start to agree that, you know, pebbles are the new dollars. So if we all agree on whatever we want to exchange, it's just a medium of exchange. So right now it's dollar bills and coins and all this stuff, money. So right now we all agree that it's, you know, Federal Reserve printed notes. Okay, so I'm going to give you this dollar, which means that we collectively owe the Fed $1 plus interest, so whatever that is. But we could just all say, tomorrow the Fed's going to get shut down, and instead of dollars and cents, we are going to now use little pebbles, and each pebble represents $1. And so our new medium of exchange is pebbles. And this is why stuff like Bitcoin works, because you have a group of people accepting that this is the medium of exchange. And remember, before there were dollars, when they were using gold, gold was in the ground. They dug up gold, they dug it up, and then they used gold as a medium of exchange. And then they turned that gold into dollar bills to make it easier. Fine. And then they gave the control over printing the money to the Federal Reserve. And so the Federal Reserve can print whatever they want. And like, what is it? Like $60 trillion is what the world has. And they printed like half of that to bail out the big banks. They just printed it. Like, okay. So if they can just print dollars, then we all agree that like, okay, so we don't have any control over printing the dollars. So we only have what we're given. If we all just say, from now on, our medium of exchange is pebbles. And so we can shut down the Fed, and now money is like something you can find in a museum. This is what humans used to use. And now we use pebbles. So we're just digging up pebbles like we used to dig up gold. But then if everyone in the whole world says, yeah, okay, pebbles are the medium of exchange between people in a country, but then between countries, between countries to countries, we use like a fairness, like Germany take, 300,000 of your pebbles. Germany owes 300,000 pebbles to China. Well, the U.S., instead of paying the 300,000 that we owe to Germany, we say to China, write off 300,000 pebbles worth of Germany's debt to you, and that's us paying Germany. It's just we all are buying into a system that we all can change. That's why Max Egan says, if everybody wakes up collectively at the exact same time, we fix the world in 3 seconds. Because we're the ones who are buying into the masses, our minds are agreeing with the principles. And as soon as we decide we don't want to agree with those principles anymore, it's like in Islam. So there's all these people practicing Islam, and they all agree on those principles of women, or apostasy. If you leave the Islamic faith, you get killed. And there's a kid, Sharif Jaber, G-A-B-E-R. He's in Egypt, and he was raised Muslim. He makes videos, and he's hilarious, and he's so smart. He's an atheist or a scientist or a naturalist, whatever you want to call him. But you can learn a lot about Islam through the people who don't practice it, but were raised in it, because they can tell you what it was. They can tell you what's in there. And it takes like 4 men to call it rape for it to be rape, and how, women who aren't veiled are just there for you to rape and take. So then you have the Islamic faith that says, well, these women are not covered, so we're allowed to rape them. And then you have the Western states saying, well, that's not how it's done here. And they're like, well, that's our religion. So then you have people say, well, it's their religion. So yeah, but what about the women who are raped? Well, it's not really rape, because 4 men have to say it's rape, and we don't call it rape because we're allowed to do that because you're not wearing a veil. Well, we don't wear a veil. So you see why you have to talk to each other. You have to talk to each other. And you have to decide what systems, what principles, what rules do we want to agree with. And that's why countries, it's not the worst thing in the world for a country to say, okay, we're a country, and these are our rules. And so everyone who wants to live under these rules, like, this is my house, my parents. You live under my roof. If you live under my roof, you live under my rules. My brother didn't like my parents' rules. He moved out. He was a junior in high school, and he left. He did not like the rules of the house, so he left. Fine. That's fine. So these countries, this is, whatever this is, this country. Here are our rules. We don't cut off, the heads of Christians here, and we don't kill gay people. We don't throw them off bridges or mountains. So it doesn't matter what religion you practice in Islam, in Saudi Arabia, or wherever you're from, when you cross into our land, now you have to follow our rules. That's why part of law is being ignorant of the rules doesn't excuse you if you break them. That's why that kid, he came back to this country, but he died shortly after. I forget, was he in China or North Korea or somewhere? He did something that wasn't wouldn't have been that big of a deal in the United States, but he was in prison for it in another country because that's their rules. And there's some country, if you spit on the sidewalk, that's a big deal. Here, it's not. In the United States, it's not a big deal if we spit on the sidewalk. But if I go to the country where it is a big deal and I can get arrested, if I spit on their sidewalk, they say, well, now you go to prison. I can't say, well, I'm from the United States, so, it doesn't, it's no big deal. And they're going to go, oh, okay. No, they're going to say you're still arrested. But anyway, it's a system. We can buy into it or not, and that's it. Okay. What a crazy video. Love you.